from the oldest city in the USA, St. Augustine tonight, with our guest from Folio Weekly Georgio Valentino, from the Lincolnville Museum, Gayle, Phillips, and our musical guest Jae Bass Ghost Tropic, and stand-up comic Marcus Crespo, with your host Jorge Rivera.
Man, what a crowd. Look at that. You guys had breakfast this morning. That's the most important meal of the day. I want to thank you for being here. This is show number 8, believe it or not. It's just going by one after the other. So thank you, thank you. Also, I always start by thanking Garrett Brothers Home Decor. The sets are always amazing. Every time I come in, I'm in awe. Also, he has several projects coming. So probably next week, I'll let you know what he's up to. He's a very busy man, always creating. That's the magic word. Did you see that spread from Louie's Cantina or Louie's Cantina? Let's give him a hand. I mean, Cantina Louie or Louie's Cantina were just amazing. I mean, I talked with Carlos Benitez, so professional. I believe he's an assistant manager, such a sweet man. He brought the food here. He was excited that Louie's Cantina or Cantina Louie was here, and I just can't thank them enough, really. The food is excellent. So in the news, I'm watching Game of Thrones. I love Game of Thrones. And this 3rd episode coming up is really, the Night Walkers are coming. And so I can't wait to Sundays. I can't remember a series that kept me that excited. My other series I watch is Brexit, and that is on hiatus right now. They gave them a long extension. Their parole officer said, so that kind of died out. But as I had predicted to many of my friends, Northern Ireland is starting to start getting a little hot. And so I don't know if you saw, but a young 29-year-old journalist was killed with riots, police, and it looked like the Ireland of the 70s again. And it broke my heart to see they'd done so much progress, and now things with the Brexit thing and other things not going that great. A guy in New Zealand has his own launch pad. I mean, I was like, what's up? He has like 36 acres. He put a thing, and he's shooting rockets into space, and he's getting contracts. And the Defense Department, U.S., gave him a little contract. It's costing him only about $7 million per shoot, which is very little money. But he says, I don't fly any meat, meaning he doesn't send people. He sends basically satellites. And today, satellites are like the size of a small microwave. So you don't need a very powerful rocket to put it at a certain point. A high school in the U.S. gave him a small spacecraft, which he put and he shot up for them. Where they got the money, I don't know. But that little spacecraft from these students is headed towards Jupiter. So, which is showing that the new startups are going to be in the space industry. I think the Silicon Valley days of all these startups are kind of slowed down, and now it's space, it's electric vehicles, lots of things like that. But I thought that was very, very interesting. Samsung is having problems with its foldable phone. Did you see that? It looked so great, and now they kind of held back. St. Augustine has something really cool. It's the Edgar Degas exhibition. The last time we had an exhibition of that quality was the Picasso. I don't know if you guys remember, we had Picasso in town, and that was amazing. You know it's a serious exhibition when there are armed guards and motion sensors, okay? It's a lot of money on those walls. Go see it, support the arts. It's amazing to see photography, his drawings, some of his paintings, and they have included a lot of his friends that he helped or shared. So some of their work, Cezanne is there, Pizarro is there. There's a bunch of amazing other artists work there. So it'd be a pity if you miss something of that quality coming to our town. Also, Microsoft just hit $1 trillion of it being worth. So the other two companies are Apple and Amazon. The only problem with Microsoft, it doesn't start with the letter A. That would have been nice. Triple aces. But, you know, $1 trillion company, wow. You know, now when I was a kid, being a millionaire was a big thing. Now being a millionaire is being a poor man. You got to be a billionaire to really be something. And the last little piece of news, they just did a survey and they found out that millennials have a really lacking love life. Their sex life is very bad, very bad. My suggestion is put the freaking phone down. I know. You can't date a Pokemon. You can't take Pokemon to dinner and to a movie. It doesn't work. Put the phone down and maybe you'll find love. But we're not looking for love in this show. We got great guests tonight. We got from Folio Weekly, Giorgio Valentino. We got Gayle Phillips from the Lincolnville Museum. Angel Rosa Peinado from the Santa Maria that just came across the Atlantic, Christopher Columbus ship. We have Jae Bass and Ghost Tropic, and we have stand-up comic Marcus Crespo. So have your tissues. He's going to make you laugh and cry. But now let's listen to Ghost Tropic.
My background is French culinary, so we definitely have a European style to what we do. But I think also we're lucky with what we get around here as far as produce, so we're very spoiled with that kind of thing. Being able to get our vegetables delivered weekly, go out to the farm and pick up our cheese, things like that. So we're very influenced by our environment. Sourcing the way that we do seasonally is definitely something that keeps us creative. It keeps us doing something different every day. And especially now that we've started opening for dinner, it's really kind of going out there and meeting the guy at the dairy farm, meeting the guy that grows our cauliflower. Those are the kind of things that I think make it exceptional.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Wow. Jae Bass and Jae Bass and the Ghost Tropic, totally hypnotic, beautiful. Yes. To see a guitar and a violin and a cello, just the strings were pulling my strings. Very, very, very nice. Well, we find ourselves here with Giorgio Valentino. Yes, Giorgio. For those who don't know him, he's the editor of Folio Weekly. And if you know, Folio Weekly would be something like, if you were in New York, sort of like a Village Voice or a New York Observer. Has articles and tells you what's going on in town, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm so happy you made the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's always hard to book people. So tell us your real name.
My real name is Yorgos Jesus Papanikolaopoulos.
Good luck on that. So you're half Greek and half Puerto Rican.
That's correct.
My Puerto Rican side says, "Hello, brother." And so, wow. And so you grew up. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in West Palm Beach.
Oh, wow.
Believe it or not, we
got someone out there, and. Now, so there you would say is your childhood, your high school?
Yeah, I did all that. Basically, I consider myself born and raised in South Florida.
Oh, wow. And so, how long did you stay there? When did you decide you wanted to see a little more of the world?
I went to school in Gainesville, and after I got my bachelor's, I moved on up to Detroit, spent some years there, and then I moved overseas to Brussels, ended up in Luxembourg. came back to my home state last year.
Oh, wow. And so what did you do in Detroit?
What did I do there? I was a teacher for a little while, yeah, believe it or not. I got a master's degree up in Michigan. I was a public school teacher in Detroit. I was a rock and roll musician.
At night?
Yeah, sometimes during the day too.
Oh, and so then you left Detroit, and what did you do in Europe?
I became a writer. I was working for the expat press in Brussels, covering arts and culture. I was still playing music and just doing all kinds of stuff.
Life was good in Europe?
Yeah, it was fun. You know, got to see different things. Everything's kind of, you know, you're never too far from something interesting over there.
And when you went there, was that your first time when you went?
I've been a couple times. My old man had taken me to Greece when I was a kid. I've been to London before, but it was for a lot of these places. I'd never been to Belgium, France.
Right, and living is always different than visiting.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
Big time. Yes, big time. So now you come here and you end up, your position at Folio, your official position is what?
I'm the editor of Folio Weekly.
Okay, and if someone asks you, what is Folio in a nutshell?
I say it is a free weekly magazine. It covers Duval, St. Johns, Clay, and Nassau counties, where you can find out the best events, arts, culture. There's great stories in there. We cover local issues. We kind of take a magnifying glass on local news.
Right, right. We had Derek Coughlin last week, and he had one best of a comedian. At Folio.
Yeah, we do our best of.
Every year, once a year?
Yeah, we do a big best of Jacks. We've been doing it for 17, 18 years. I say we, that was before I was around. But and lately we've been doing best of St. Augustine. We just dropped best of the beaches, so Jack's Beach. So we're kind of shining a spotlight in certain areas now with our best ofs.
Wow, wow. And you know, people, it was at Dog Rose, you guys had the event. And I was there with my camera, of course, and people were just ecstatic.
Yeah,
I mean,
people were happy.
Thought they won the Oscar, man.
Yeah, well, in a way, they did.
And now, about what's the circulation of Folio?
We got every week we're between 10,000, 20,000. We cover 4 counties, so it's a big footprint. So of all the alternative weeklies in the United States, is 104. We have the largest circulation footprint. Population obviously is not as dense as some of the other markets, but it's a large area, so there's lots to discover. I mean, there's some parts of, if you were to go from here to the northern edge of our circulation footprint, Nassau County, you get stuck in traffic, first of all. There's a lot to see and do. Right,
right. Now, you're an editor, which gives you a lot of responsibility. Are you writing?
I write a little bit. I try not to. I try to sort of focus on a sort of more strategic vision and not get down in the weeds of writing. But of course, I always have things to say. So I do end up writing a couple of stories a week.
I have an opinion. This is the way I'll express it. And so, what do you see in the future for Folio?
We're going to keep on doing what we're doing. I think we're in a pretty good place as a locally owned, independent print media. We have been, we're not bought by any holding companies, so we can kind of do what we want to do. And
that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, just to have that freedom, that you don't have to be called in an office and explain.
Yeah, and I think that's the important thing. A lot of print media has panicked because of a drop in revenue, subscribers, this kind of thing, and a lot of publishers just didn't have the will to fight, I think, and so they sold out. And once you do that, you have a kind of broader group of stakeholders. It's no longer just between you and your readers.
Right.
You have all kinds of out-of-state interests and. So you got to answer all those questions, and sometimes those corporate paymasters are not necessarily interested in local issues or whatever. They want to make their money.
It's all about the money and what their investors get. But you know, when I look at your paper, it looks very, very healthy, advertising-wise. There's a lot of advertising in it, so you're not. I think we're doing good. You know, we're in that sweet spot where we're free, so anyone can pick up the paper. We're weekly,
So we don't have to pay to print every day, but at the same time, versus a monthly, we're a little bit more flexible and responsive to what's happening.
Right, right. Now as an editor, what do you think is your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge is putting out a book every week. I mean, it's a whole lot of work, and there's a lot of moving parts.
It's like this show. It's like as soon as I finish, I got to get ready for the next one.
You know how it is. So you have to you have to budget your time between looking at what's in front of you for next week's issue, and then you also have to play a long game because you're looking at 2 weeks ahead, even a month, 2 months ahead.
So about how many people you have working for Folio?
Ballpark. My writer corps, I have about 10 regular writers that I count on, and some of them appear every week, some of them every couple of weeks.
And they all have like different
Everyone's got
departments, kind of new bands, old bands.
Yeah, we got some music writers. We got our politics guy, A.G. Gankarski, who's been with us for 20 years.
Wow.
We have a Folio weed column that's just dealing with medical marijuana and related issues. That's my good friend Shelton Hull who handles that. That's every week.
And so you know, it's a great paper. You have it in digital form also.
We do. Yeah, we have a website. We do all the social media food groups. So we got between print and digital, we have a substantial reach.
Any events that Folio is planning in the future?
We are. Yeah, we're doing a screening with the Corazon Cinema here in St. Augustine. And we're bringing a great documentary over from Europe called Walking in the Opposite Directions, about a British musician
and
from
in
the
a nutshell,
1980s.
what does that documentary deal with?
It deals with, on the one hand, with a specific musician. It's kind of like a behind the music about a band called The Sound, a musician called Adrian Borland. But on the other hand, it's also about the mental health issues that he dealt with his whole life.
Wow.
So it's got a broad interest, I think, just as far as a human story, even if you're not into rock and roll.
Right.
And this is going to be the first U.S. screening of this movie. It's been going around Europe for the last couple of years, and we're happy to bring it over here for the first time. It's going to be playing May 3rd to 13th, 14th, something. A couple weeks, 2 weeks from May 3rd.
Okay. And if I wanted to get a hold of the Folio, where would I find it?
You can find it all over town. We got racks
It's free?
all
It's a
over
free
the place.
paper?
It's absolutely free. If you want to find the closest distribution point, you can go to folioweekly.com, scroll all the way down the home page. There's a tab that says Find Your Folio. You enter your address and it will tell you the nearest rack to pick up the folio.
Wow, wow. Well, we thank you so much for being on the show. We thank you. I mean, you know, especially print media that's being so challenged, it's wonderful to have something like that. Because in New York, I used to love the Village Voice because I read articles that were about the city that I lived, you know, and also there was all the bands, all the movies, all the little tiny movies you couldn't find. They're very independent, played for one night or whatever, and lots of foreign film. I loved it. And when I look at Folio, it brings me back for, you know, looking for, I used to pay $1 for it. And eventually, when the other paper came in to compete, they went free, which was great. And yours is free, so I think that's awesome. Let's give them another hand, and let's thank Folio for doing everything you do to keep the community and other counties, so that we know in other counties. So we'll be back after these messages with Gayle Phillips.
My name's Theo Garrett. I'm the owner of Garrett Brothers. My rule of thumb is I don't take anything in this store that I wouldn't have in my own home. We look for unique pieces, things you can't find anywhere around St. Augustine, and we pride ourselves on that. We have more than furniture. We have 1967 Vespa. We have anything that you can think of that would be fun and exciting. You're going to find it here. Sculptures, art pieces. We have a wonderful selection of art. I hear it's like a museum. That's the most common comment that I hear. Love for you to come and see me here, and we'll make you happy.
ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Ah, the magic of editing. I love it. I love it.
Wonderful.
Wonderful to have you. Wonderful to have you. I had your husband in the first season.
The first season,
You know,
yeah.
and at that time the museum was sort of, you
Just
know.
feeling our way.
Yes, and now it's 2.5 years later, and so much has happened in that place. But let's start with a little bit about you. Where were you born?
I was born at Brewster Hospital in Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. Is
Yeah.
that hospital still there?
Oh, no, it's actually a museum now.
A museum.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, wow. And interesting, turn a hospital into a museum. And so, was your childhood all there in that part of Jacksonville?
Pretty much. I traveled some. You know, I had a godmother that lived in New York City, and so I had my first airplane, you know,
Right.
first flight at 4.5.
Uh-huh.
And I stayed there for about 9 months until it was time to come back for first grade.
Okay.
So,
And did you, could you compare both worlds?
oh yeah. I grew up in a very, very rural area of Jacksonville called Mandarin.
Mandarin.
Which
It's
when
not
I grew
rural
up
now.
there, I know, it was called the Sticks when I grew up. There was nothing there. The first traffic light, and I mean the first traffic light, because Mandarin is right next to the St. Johns County line. If you go to San Jose, which is State Road 13, the first traffic light was at Sunbeam Road,
Oh, wow.
and it was 2 lanes.
And now it's a whole different world
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Way things change. So how long did you stay in the Jacksonville area?
Well, I stayed there, you know, through high school. I actually went to junior college in Jacksonville, and then I went to Gainesville to college, and after that, I think I moved to Daytona for a job. Came back for a couple years, met Floyd, moved
You
to
met that
Miami.
man?
Yeah, I met that man. Lived in Miami for about 14 years.
How long have you and Floyd been together now?
30. We've been together for almost 35 years.
Oh, wow.
We've been married a little over 33 years.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
And so you came back to this area then?
We came back to St. Johns County in 1998.
And you've traveled quite a bit.
Oh yeah, it's always been, I think, that first flight, you know, flying into New York City at night and seeing all the lights. If you grew up in the country, it was just like, you know, a fairy tale, to be
Yes,
honest
Alice
with
in
you.
Wonderland.
And then to learn to roller skate in the city, you know, in the snow and all that stuff. So yeah, I've always loved to travel. I've traveled to, I don't know, probably over 30 countries I've traveled to, in many different places. So.
Which one do you think had the most impact on you?
I know we talked about this, but a lot of places do, and I think the first trip to Africa was probably the most impactful, because it's like you study and, you know, you hear about things, and then when we landed, it was just almost a spiritual journey.
What place
For
in
us, it was
Africa?
actually in Zimbabwe, and so that was, you know, the first, you know, place that I stayed there was Zimbabwe.
And how was Africa to compare to what you heard and compare
Well-
textbook versus real world?
Well, I don't think I could really compare it, because you hear a lot about, you know, everybody lives in the bush, and, you know,
Lots
it's
of
all
negative stuff.
backwards. And,
They're
you know, I
all
had
dying.
done a lot of study, even in junior high school geography. And it occurred to me, it's like, if this is a dark continent and you look at all the minerals and the maps of all the minerals and resources, they were all in Africa. And so when we got there, it was like, I stayed in Harare, which is the capital of Zimbabwe, and so there's no bush in Harare. You know, it's banks and hotels, and there was this beautiful avenue of jacaranda trees, and they were all in bloom. It was in the fall there, and it was their spring, but it was our fall. And it was like this blanket of lavender flowers, and purple is really my favorite color.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, wow, it must be heaven. you know?
Wow.
So, but there were a lot of things that we did get to go into the bush, and we got to go to Great Zimbabwe, which is one of those early lost civilizations of the world, and see that. I actually got to climb, you know, to the top of that, and to see those ancient villages and stuff that were out
Being
there.
African American coming to Africa, how did they How did they receive
I
you?
think we had such a warm reception. First of all, I was on a Chamber of Commerce junket.
Okay.
So, we got to meet ambassadors and different
The
people
who's
while we
who.
were there. Yeah. So it was from, the top of the chain, so to speak, to going out and meeting people who were actually out in the community. And so we actually got invited to the home of a local banker, and he invited Floyd and I and another person that was with our group. He was with his son. He didn't have his wife with him, but we got to spend some time with him and really have one-on-one of what was family like.
Conversation.
But probably, and I know I told you this before, but Namibia was probably the most impressive because of the hospitality that we saw there, and that people had so little and they were willing to share all of that with us. And we thought we had shown them great hospitality because, some people had visited us when we lived in Miami. And, so we laid out, all the, great food and whatever. Right. And we got there and we went from house to house. We didn't stay in a hotel. We actually stayed in the home of a pastor there. And all of his people in that community, they invited us to come in every night. There was a different house that we went to, and say like there was one house we remembered, there was a couple, they had these young children, and they had us set up something like this, but there was a table here, and they had the food set up on this table, and it was just like, wow, they are giving us everything that they have. Yes. And that was very humbling for me, and I think for Floyd too.
Yeah, I had a German friend who spent some time in Africa, and he called me late at night. He said, I need to see you, I need to talk to you. So I went late to this bar in Berlin, and he was having a mental breakdown because his thing was, I spent all this time in Africa, and I come back home to Germany, and people here are living on sleeping pills and antidepressants. And these people where I came survive day by day, and they cannot stop singing and dancing. And this thing, he could not, it just kept spinning, and it was driving him nuts, and he just needed to talk. And I said, it's because they don't have what to compare with, my brother. You're comparing your world with theirs. They don't have. They will probably never come visit Germany.
I can tell you one thing that we experienced there also, related to what you're saying. We had a family that we visited, and they only knew Americans by TV. So what shows did they see? They got the secondhand, D-list, TV shows.
Yes.
And so the African Americans they saw on TV, it was all like crime stuff, and so they had no real concept of what real people were like. So they were like, I can't believe we have Americans sitting in our living room. And we're going like, I can't believe I'm sitting in your living room.
Wow,
and so this man loaned us his car, and we drove all across Namibia to Etosha Pan and Walvis Bay and everywhere. It was awesome.
That's beautiful. So now you're involved in the museum. How's that going?
It's going. It's a challenge. I started out as a volunteer. Floyd drugged me to a meeting one day. And I walked in, and I was just sort of mesmerized by what I saw and by what I didn't see. I saw the possibilities that were there. So if you've been into the museum, you know that, it's this old building. It's almost 100 years old, and it has this mystique about it. But it was just dark, and all I could see was the light that was coming through the windows because there wasn't a lot of, top lighting or anything. So I said at that moment, almost like something was speaking through me. I guess it's just the spirit speaking through me. It's like, I got to get involved and I got to do something here. So I spoke to the person that we were with that I thought was in charge of the museum at that time. It turned out that they really weren't.
Okay.
But, and she looked at me and it's like, what? And I goes, I need to get involved. How can I help? How can I get involved? And she said, well, we'll see. Well, as I went to a few more meetings, I found out that, they really weren't in charge, but there was an opportunity. So I just started to volunteer, basically going to their meetings and taking notes. And then as I got more involved, the museum didn't even have regular hours or anything. So, we decided we need to be open so people can come in And I started doing that, you know, a few days a week, Floyd and I, and then we got other people involved. And we got other board members to agree to come and, you know, sit and just kind of man the desk.
Right.
And then we said, well, we need to charge people to come in here because we got to make some money to
Right,
make this thing.
right.
So we did that. And then we, you know, we just kept talking to other people, and I rearranged a few things and rearranged something else and had a little kickback on some of
Then
those
the
things.
second floor came
Yeah,
to play.
we've raised money because we didn't have support from, you know, the city or county or state or anywhere in terms of funding for the building, even though it is owned by the state of Florida, but it was a lease that was entered in as an as-is lease, and
Right.
you know, we really couldn't change that aspect, so we had to find some other avenues. So all the money that we've raised in the first few years, it just went towards trying to make the building habitable, inhabitable.
The exhibitions
Yeah.
you have there
Yeah.
are amazing. You're looking for jazz? This is the place for jazz, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I've been to some jazz things there that rock the house. You're packing that place. I remember I went to some first events. There were 12 people. Now people don't get in. I mean, this is really becoming an incredible venue. And what you're doing, just preserving that history. The Gullah Geechee exhibition you have of baskets, the canes.
Those were
that
awesome.
was amazing.
Yeah. And that exhibit is traveling around the state of Florida. And we, with one of my volunteers who's back there now, Mike Kanapeki,
Is Mike
he helped
Kanapeki
me
back
to
there?
curate
Hey,
that
that's my
exhibit
man.
that we had, catalog it,
Volunteers.
and they're using that. So when we packed it up to go, it was just like, they didn't have to spend 3 months trying to figure out what was what,
Right,
as
right.
we did.
Yeah, and the thing is that you're opening also to venues that are not connected to the African American culture. I've seen the Classic Theater up there do 1984. I've seen I mean, it is such a what you guys have done there. I mean, you've turned it into a nice little gem that just gets brighter and brighter and brighter, and we just can't thank you enough.
Well,
We cannot
thank you.
thank you
Thank you
enough.
for your support.
Hey, thank you for coming to the show. And you know, if there's a season 4 or 5, I'll bring you or Floyd to keep us,
Okay,
because
great.
that place is just rocking. And I remember the early when all I saw were cobwebs and chip paint and places that had not been walked through. And now to go in there and see this thriving museum.
Well, we're actually changing out our basic museum exhibit. We're changing, they started out with the way we were, we're changing it into the Lincolnville Lifeways exhibit, which should roll out in September.
Okay.
We're doing it, and so we've been working behind the scenes, and we're gonna roll it out then, but you'll see a different, have a different experience. So you'll walk in and it'll be a progression of storylines that you'll go
Amazing.
through with some kiosks and backstories and, you know, some archival material that will actually be available for, you know, that's searchable.
Amazing. I thank you so much, and may God keep blessing you guys.
Thank you.
Because He is blessing you. Thank you again. And we'll be back with Marcus Crespo.
At St. Augustine Distillery, we're part of a new generation of American craft distillers. Family owned and operated, we are committed to making the best possible spirits using local agriculture. Our distillers make everything by hand, from mashing and blending to distilling and tasting each and every batch. We distill and bottle everything we sell, making sure that the spirits are just right before barreling and aging. Bottled by real people, we love showing our guests not only what we do, but why we do it. We're passionate about educating our guests to not only what goes into each bottle, but how to make the best possible cocktails. We love St. Augustine, and thanks to your purchases, we're able to give back to the community and help local organizations each and every day.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you for your support.
St. Augustine Distillery, handmade with pride in the nation's oldest city.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so I have a real nice treat. I met this gentleman a while back. There was a Sing Out Loud festival, and they had a comedy night. And I can't remember the last time I laughed so much. So, of course, when this season came, I thought of him. I've been bringing comedians because they always need as many breaks as they can get. And I love comedy clubs growing up in New York. So, without less ado, I'll present to you Marcus Crespo.
Thank you. All right. I feel out of place a little bit. It's a fantastic joint. They got a really guests with great significance and prominence in their respective field, and then me. I look like a sad uncle. Like I don't have any kids, but I look like I'm trying to win them back. You know what I mean? Like it's cool. I would address the elephant in the room. I don't have a neck. I don't know if you guys noticed that. It's just chin and shoulders. There's no middleman. I got no visible trachea. If this gentleman right here punched me in my jaw, my rotator cuff is done. You know, I got no neck. I got a pack of hot dogs back here. You know, I got a backwards turtle shell belly thing going on here. I got a Megan Fox toe thumb. Look at that. Read it and weep. I don't know what this is. You know, I did some research because I needed to know, and it's a mutation. I'm not going to say it right. The keyword's mutation. I don't know if you guys read comic books or watch movies, but there's another group of mutants. They're called the X-Men. I'm the world's worst X-Man. I got a fat thumb. I don't know whether to use it for good or evil, you know? Like, we need help, you know? What's your power? Like, this lady can change the weather with a mood swing. This guy's got claws that can cut through anything. I'm like, I got a fat thumb. I can push elevator buttons real good, you know? I can finger paint like a son of a gun, you know? Terrible. That's cool. I'm by the way, I'm 34 years old. All right, no response to that. That's cool. And that's the proper response to that because I'm not a good 34. All right, I'm not a 2019 34 that eats that does yoga and eats kale smoothies and lives to 96. That's not me, baby. All right, I'm a throwback 34. All right, I'm an 1895 34 type of 34-year-old named Paul. Worked at the sawmill, died of smallpox at 34. All right. I perform comedy in bars and I don't drink, yet I look like alcohol destroyed my life, all right? You know, I'm up here, I comb my hair back for you fine folks. I thought I was gonna look slick and nice and sexy, but instead it looks like I got a quasi mullet, and it's not even a good mullet, because a good mullet is what? Business up front and party in the back, but I'm balding in two separate spots, so it's like business up front, unemployment, crippling depression, party in the back, you know? My mullet's got anxiety, it's terrible. This is fun. I'm single. Nothing again. That's cool. I'm a single dude trying to get back out there, trying to mix it up, trying to meet people. It's not going well. I'm on those dating sites, you know, and I matched with a lady, and she's like, why don't we go to a nightclub? And I was like, yeah. And I have terrible luck because I went to the nightclub. It was a college nightclub on ladies' night. So it was a bunch of hot, sexy college-age girls dressed up, dancing, grinding on college-age dudes, and then me. When I walked in there, I looked like a dad who was looking for his daughter who missed curfew. I walked in there, I'm like, Michelle, it's 9:30, young lady. Your mom was worried. She made cookies. To the right, to the left, now kick. You're grounded, you know. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. I love comedy. Comedy is a fantastic thing. There's pros and cons of doing comedy. One of the cons of doing comedy, any comedian can tell you this if they've been doing it long enough, is you step off the stage, and a lot of people find out you're a comedian. They're like, oh, you're a comedian? Tell me a joke. Make me laugh. I'm like, I got to validate my existence for you right now? You don't do that with other jobs. Like, hey, what do you do for a living? Well, I'm a neurosurgeon. Oh, really? Work on my frontal lobe, you know? And that's not fair, you know? But I found out there's a pro of doing comedy, and that is if I perform anywhere and I don't do well that night, I can go on Facebook or social media and whine about it, be like, I didn't do well, guys. This is one of those nights where I want to quit comedy. And that's where I realized that's the advantage of being a comedian over other professions, namely the medical profession, because you couldn't be a heart doctor after having a rough night in the ER and be like, guess what, guys? I lost another one on the table today. Your friends came like, you get him next time, champ. Oh, no, the heck you won't, all right? That's a HIPAA violation. You're about to get sued for malpractice, all right? So you better learn how to tell a fart joke fast, all right? This is what I'm saying. Yeah, it's cool, man. That's great. One of the things I used to do before I did stand-up comedy is I used to be a mall security officer in Jacksonville, Florida, one of the sketchiest malls in the country. I don't want to say the name, but it rhymes with Agency Square. I saw some things, guys. I think you got PTSD from working mall security. You know how silly that sounds? I mentioned that to a friend of mine. Her suggestion was, why don't you get PTSD therapy like Wounded Warrior Project? And I was like, why don't we get better friends? Because that's a horrible suggestion. Because that means you want me to sit in a roundtable discussion with soldiers who fought real wars and go over my backstory as a mall security officer like it's somehow comparable. Just going up to this shell-shocked word man, like, hey, how you doing, man? He's like, not good. My name's John Dawson. I served 2 tours Afghanistan, 1 to Iraq. I lost 7 friends and my wife left me. I'm like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. And he's like, what about you, bud? I'm like, me? Security guard Crespo. I served 2 tours Black Friday. Forever 21. Dang, skinny jeans! You know, like, I'm just sitting there shaking with a cigarette, like, I love the smell of Cinnabon in the morning, you know? Like, it's cool, man. I live in Florida. There's a lot of things I don't like about living in Florida. First of all, I don't like lightning. Yeah, okay, no one responded. That's good. No one else likes lightning, and that's good. That's a proper response. Because I don't like lightning for several reasons. First of all, I don't like anything I can't control with my hands. And you can't chokehold lightning, all right? Lightning does whatever it wants to. Also, when was the last time someone got struck by lightning that deserved it? Exactly. When was the last time a meth lab or a bank robbery was foiled by lightning? No. The only people getting struck by lightning lately are people that didn't deserve it in the first place. It's always somebody's sweet grandma that went to the beach to grab the cooler while you load the kids into the SUV. You're like, hey, Nana, my hands are full. Can you help me out? Sure, thanks, sweetheart. Boom! Nana! Next thing you know, there's Capri Suns everywhere. You got to go to the burnt spot where Nana got toasted and spelled rest in peace and Uncrustables. It's sad, you know? Another thing I don't like about Florida is people are always worried about guns and stuff. But, like, have you read the news? People in Florida will attack you with anything. All right? Like, they got a Florida Man challenge. You put their birth date in, and they'll tell you some crazy Florida Man story. Here's a couple of the headlines within the past couple months. Wife attacked her husband with a bean burrito. Husband attacked his wife with a pork chop, and recently someone was fatally injured with a pogo stick at a laundromat. Basically, Floridians are walking around here like video game characters that ran out of ammo. Now they got to fight the boss with melee weapons. All right, it's like a redneck game of Clue, but instead of like Colonel Mustard in the living room with the candlestick, it's Jim Bob in the citrus grove with a natty light and a wood chipper. All right. And I just keep walking around my head on a swivel because I don't want to be in the headlines next as the guy that got prison shaked with a Doritos Locos taco shell, or I got choked out with my CVS receipt, but no one's mourning my death because they're making fun of my final purchase. They're like, can you believe he returned an unused box of condoms to take the money to buy the remainder of the holiday candy? Oh, that's sad, you know. It's terrible. That's cool. I love comedy. It's a passion. It's a passion. And when I say that is there's levels of comedy. There's like superstars, and then there's me. And I say that is because I'm a poor guy. A lot of comedians are like, oh, I'm poor. I'm like, you're not as poor as I am, all right? If you transfer my financial bank statements to anywhere in the world, I'm not doing well there either, all right? United States, I'm broke. Zimbabwe, I'm doing piss poor there too. You know, it's not good. And despite that fact, a couple years ago, I was a victim of identity theft. Yeah, it happened at a Target store, which is crazy because clearly I'm a Walmart shopper. I was there trying to live like a king, trying to shop outside my means, you know. I swiped my debit card on some Haribo gummy bears because when I'm balling, I don't do store brand, you know. The next day, I tried to get a McChicken from McDonald's, a $1 sandwich. My card got declined. I'm like, that ain't good. I called my bank. I'm like, hey, bank. And they're like, Mr. Crespo, we have to have a discussion. I was like, yeah, we do. I got declined on a $1 sandwich in the drive-thru while it's raining. That was embarrassing, you know. They explained the situation. I don't know if you guys watched the news a couple years ago. A bunch of Target customers got their identity stolen in a mass sweep. Yeah, I was one of those victims. And because I was one of those victims, I did some further research. The group that stole those identities may or may not have been linked to Al-Qaeda. Clearly, they didn't do their research because they stole my identity because my high school GPA and my credit score, same number, all right? And I wasn't an honor roll student. What they tried to do was ring up a small litmus test purchase of like $5.07 on my dime and work their way up to bigger purchases, but that $5.07 purchase did not go through. Because I only had $1.06 in my account. Guys, have you ever been so broke you stopped international terrorism? I have. All right, I'm not broke. I'm the John McClane of insufficient funds, all right? I'm not broke. I'm an American hero. And you guys have been fantastic. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Good Marcus Crespo. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, my bad.
That was good. Thank you so much. I got a microphone. What am I doing? All right, everybody. We'll be back with our next guest and just after these messages.
We opened up last year in January. Everything from the German farmer bread, the Schwarzwälder Flosserbrot. We have Jewish roots as well on my mother's side. So we do challah every Friday. That's available.
We're back, ladies and gentlemen. These are special guests. These gentlemen just crossed the Atlantic in a replica of Christopher Columbus' ship. It is the Santa Maria, which is right now in our harbor, and people are getting to look at what Christopher Columbus actually came to the New World in 1492. Ángel Rosa Peinado and Pablo Tejada, first officer, and he is the project manager. So I invited them to the show, and they were just ecstatic. Wow, a Tonight Show, of course! You know? And this was an email from the ship as they were coming in, so I said, okay. Now, I did not put them on the marquee or in the promo because things happen in ships, and it could have been that they could have been late or whatever because, you know, that's Mother Nature. So, wow. So let me start with you. How long is that journey from Spain to here?
Well, it took us 6 days from Spain to Canary Islands.
Okay,
and then from La Gomera, Canary Islands, to Puerto Rico, 23 days. So pretty much a month in total. A month in total out in the sea.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Do you ever encounter bad weather in the sea?
Well, yes, but in the end, I don't know, you are with... It's an amazing adventure, so you are not really aware of that. So in the end, anything happens, it comes and goes. It's a very good life lesson.
Uh-huh. Are there times where the waves really move? I mean,
oh yeah. Definitely. I always heard in the school that these ships were like nutshells. I can tell you that, yes. Definitely.
Like nutshells, huh?
Yeah. So the tilting movement, it could go up to 45 degrees.
45 degrees!
Yes. And the thing is, it hits back very fast. So
it kicks you back.
It rolls and rocks and swings and so on.
She rocks.
Yes. Now you're the first officer.
Yep.
So you would be the man after the captain.
Yeah.
If something happened to the captain, you would come in.
Yes.
If somehow the captain just happened to fall overboard, you have to.
I love my captain.
You love your captain. Now the captain is. Herrera is his last name. Carlos Herrera. All right. And what's the biggest challenge for you on a ship like that crossing the Atlantic?
I think in this kind of ship, I started so young in a small fishing vessel in the Bay of Cadiz, where I'm from, south of Spain. So I started on the sea so young. So for me, it's new. It's new because it's different rigging of the sails. We have it's completely different the way to
So
sail.
wind is what's bringing you here.
Yeah,
Only wind.
We use the trade winds like they did in the past.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
We have engines on board, but we all use for narrow channels with shallow waters.
Right, or even park yourselves here when you come in.
But automatically when we go open sea, we try the winds.
The wind is what,
sails,
just like
here we
Christopher.
Go. Yeah. Diesel is expensive, wind is free.
Now you had told me that the routines of the crew are just like the ones that Christopher Columbus sailor's hat.
That's right.
So
that's
how
right.
does this routine work?
So well, we have 3 watches
3 watches
while we're sailing. So one is from 8 to 12
at night.
Captain watch.
We split the day in 2.
Okay.
So you have morning and evening watches.
Okay.
So one is from 8 until 12, the next one is from 12 until 4, and then from 4 until 8. So 3 watches, and you do that twice per day, daytime and nighttime.
And what does a watch guy do? He just...
Well, it depends on your watch, but usually we, if the sea let us, we try to do maintenance work.
Okay.
And then we also, when we do the maneuvering of the sails, everyone is on guard, like because we need everyone like pulling, rolling, and it depends on the sea. It can be very, very tough at times, so we need everyone at that time. But on watch, we try to do some maintenance work. Also, usually one is running the ship, then 1 or 2 guys is also watching. But in the middle of the ocean, there wasn't that much traffic, you know.
Now you said that sometimes when you're in the sea, these big ships see you and they come your way to see what is that.
Yeah, because
what? Yeah. So Russian ships, German ships, like. Is this
Can you imagine? We're like a nutshell, and then we see like these guys are coming to us. Are they seeing us? Or what's going on? And then you can see them taking pictures.
Sometimes they call us by VHF radio.
Oh wow!
What are you doing? What is we are pirates or something? No, we are not pirates. We
are nice people.
We're nice people. Sorry, we're nice people. We're not coming to raid your ship. That is hilarious. Now, do you encounter some like beautiful wildlife?
Oh, yes,
you know, when you're crossing?
This is
this
is my best, my favorite part of the
journey.
Yes. Yeah. We I was with the galleon. We was there.
That was here before.
Yes.
And I was sailing in 2016 in Great Lakes, and I remember one navigation, like the best navigation I have ever. I was sailing in St. Lawrence Bay, really to go inside the St. Lawrence River,
the river,
in St. Lawrence Seaway, and we stayed maybe 3 days with maybe 10, 15 whales around us. You can listen and during the night you can see nothing during the night with myself, and you listen only. From the whales. Sometimes they are jumping. We saw sharks. We saw turtles. We saw dolphins every day.
Every day, dolphins every day.
They like humans. They come. They know.
Usually they come. They stay by the side, and then they go up to the front, to the bow, and then they start. Like, they do like this, like saying, "Hey, you!"
They want.
We try to
like
fish. We try to fish. So when we are in the middle.
You guys also fish while you're on the boat.
Yeah. We have
the rope, and then we in the crossing we had a lot of mahi-mahi.
Mahi-mahi, not bad.
Big
Like these guys did in the past in the Columbus Journal. You can read. They like.
So you're doing a lot of what you read in the journals.
Yeah, we're reading also like every evening.
That's amazing.
Hey, these guys were doing the same, like catching mahi-mahi.
Now you're going to stay here for how long?
We're going to be here until next upcoming Sunday, the 5th.
Okay, the 5th.
Yes, and we're open.
And you go where on the 5th?
We're going to Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right.
And then we're going north. We're heading to the Great Lakes next summertime.
Oh,
so there's a tall ships challenge over there.
The tall ship challenge in the Great Lakes.
So there is festivals, maritime festivals in many different ports with many different.
A lot of other replica ships are in there too.
And original. So it's like
you guys are gonna just kill it with. We brought Christopher Columbus ship. What do you got, baby? Wow.
We are always looking for volunteers. So if you want to join us,
you have time.
Now your crew is very mixed. Yeah. You got Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Colombians.
That's right.
True.
That's amazing. That's
we have
amazing.
girls on board.
And Americans.
And I saw the girls.
Columbus, I don't know.
Yeah, back in the past. Back in the past, they were no women on board because
right.
They were.
Well, now,
but actually, we were. 4 times we've been like half male, half female. Now we have only 3 girls on board.
Okay. Any favorite port that you like? You say
Well,
I was thinking it's my favorite port.
Yeah, that's the right answer.
To be honest, we were listening a lot of things for different ports, but I couldn't wait to be in St. Augustine and also in Puerto Rico. So at the moment, there was my 2 favorite spots.
Okay. Well, I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, it is an adventure, but you have to be brave. You have to be brave. And this is what I got for you guys. That's it, you guys. We're on the St. Augustine Tonight Show. That's it, my brother. Wear it proud.
So we got you.
They need volunteers. That's it, Captain. They're going to say yes. Find a new one.
So little mouse told me that was your birthday last week, and
Yes.
I brought you a T-shirt. Also.
Oh, wow. There it is. La Santa Maria. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, being of Puerto Rican heritage and knowing that Columbus also, was there, and that Ponce de Leon was our first governor also, which here you hear. So, our link with Spain. In Puerto Rico, we still call you Mother Spain, and with very much, and I must say, when I traveled Spain and they knew I was Puerto Rican, it was magical. It was incredible. It's like the child they lost. And they fed me, they kissed me, they hugged me. They would wait to give me the best room. And I'll never forget that, brothers, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll be back with Jae Bass.
At Martinez & Associates, we can help you with many things. Number 1 is income for life throughout your retirement, which is very important. Number 2 would be Medicare choices, which are very confusing. Number 3 is a legacy for your loved ones. And finally, keeping you independent throughout retirement. My name is Tuli Martinez. Call this number. Y hablamos español.
That was an incredible story about those men, huh? Crossing the Atlantic.
Yeah. Oh
So you're our last guest. It's usual to have our musical guests last, and usually they'll play something for us. And it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you. It's lovely to be here.
I mean, you guys played that first number. It was so hypnotic. I mean, a guitar between a violin and a cello. I mean, how could you beat that? It's lovely.
A dream.
A dream, yes. Yeah. Were you born here in the state of Florida?
I was born in Gainesville, so I was born in Florida. I moved around a whole lot, all over the Southeast, in New Orleans, Miami, Atlanta.
Oh wow! Any of those places left an impression?
Oh, New Orleans was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a music thing.
I left just before I could get in too much trouble. I left in 9th grade, so. I was starting to get in trouble.
And you came here?
Came here, came to Jacksonville, and then moved to St. Augustine. I have a lot of family here, so ended up kind of back at my roots.
And so now, how young were you when you felt the calling to play an instrument?
I'm gonna say like 8. I was raised with a lot of music, some good and some bad. We made the trip from New Orleans to here a lot, and there were several, I'm giving away my age, but several 8-track cassettes.
8 tracks, do you guys remember the 8 tracks?
We had Carly Simon, we had James Taylor, we had Dolly Parton,
That's not bad.
Leo Sayer.
Yes.
And that's all. So, Captain and Tennille.
Oh, Captain and Tennille.
I know those very well, but that wasn't what made me want to play music for sure. Anything that was the opposite. But my dad played, and he had several guitars. He had a Les Paul, and he had some really nice guitars, and he would play. And When I was really, really little, I would like get behind the guitar and listen, put my head up against the back of the guitar so I could hear it very well, yeah. And then I started taking lessons probably around 9 or 10, and I had already kind of taught myself to play chords. So when I took lessons, it was to read music, and I got so bored. Because, you know, they start kind of at the beginning and play this note, and I had no patience for that. So I quit that after, you know, a month or something, and I continued to just play and
play by ear.
Yeah, and like teach myself and.
Well, I was shocked when I heard B.B. King didn't read music. I said,
oh yeah, a lot of people don't read
so
music.
Many.
I don't. Luckily, I surround myself with people who do read music, and they know exactly what I'm doing. I know I can drive Christiana crazy because she's like, wait, that's an A. I'm like, I have no idea. Like, I use capos a lot too, so I have to, there's a calculation you have to make, and you know, she does it very well. So I don't have to.
Right, and who are the members in your band right now?
Right now, I'm with Christiana Patterson, who plays violin, and Sam Shin on cello.
Sam Shin is a rock star.
Everybody sees Sam all over town, and Christiana's in a couple of other bands too, Bed Sweater and Kenny and the Jets. And Sam plays with everybody.
Yeah.
We're playing again June 15th, right, at Barley Republic. Sam has a Saturday night regular gig at Barley Republic. And
Barley Republic. Good Irish beer.
Yeah, I played once there with him, and we're so looking forward to doing that again.
Wow.
I love it. I love playing with Sam.
And so you're now permanent in St. Augustine.
I guess so. I mean, as
You're
permanent as
in
it can be.
Lincolnville.
I'm in Lincolnville.
Now your baby in Lincolnville is the
I do have a baby.
Lincolnville Porch
The Lincolnville
Festival.
Porch Fest is my baby.
Wow.
Sam's wearing the Porch Fest
Explain to
t-shirt.
people what it is if they don't know what it is.
It started a couple years ago, and you know, I've lived in Lincolnville for about 6 years now, really in May, and have always had like friends who play music, and we'll hang out on the porch and we'll play till wee hours, and surprisingly we haven't like had cops called or anything. But we you know, play, and I think it's been uttered a few times like, we should do this like more, like we need to broaden this out a little bit. And so I don't know, I was bored one day and shot out a Facebook message. I'm like, okay, like let's really do this, and people came out of the woodwork. So it's the work of a lot of musicians around town with a lot of passion, and we made it happen 2 years ago. The first one actually got postponed because of Matthew, and so it got postponed till like the first one was February of 17.
Right.
And then we just did the last one last
So
November.
there's musicians on all these different porches in Lincolnville playing all sorts of music.
Yes.
And people are just listening to everything.
It's wonderful.
It is. I went, I remember the first time I covered it, I was on a bicycle with my camera, and I would go from place to place, and I'd go all around. It was so lovely. Some people were walking, but Lincolnville is not that big.
It's totally walkable.
Yeah.
We had a shuttle kind of bringing people back and forth, and a lot of people were on bikes, and there were people of all ages and all. I mean, it was so great because people brought their pets and rode bikes around, and it was a really good feeling just to kind of walk around, and everybody was happy. You know,
it's such an energy.
I like that energy, and I want to keep doing that.
So when is the next Porch Festival? Hopefully?
I believe that we are going to do the next one in February.
Okay.
So I think November is when the Jacksonville Porch Fest is. So it's so close. It's like right there, and there's so much going on around that time of year. We have Sing Out Loud. We have, you know, a few festivals, and then all the holidays and everything. But you know, like February, there's not a whole lot going on. So I feel like that's going to be the next one.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I really enjoyed it so much because you see a lot of bands and a lot of musicians that are excellent, and you've never encountered them.
Yeah.
You never encountered
That
them.
is the idea. And most of the bands who played are local. I mean, this is local talent. I have a lot of people contacting me from out of town, and that might be a possibility for the future. But I really do want to focus like our local talent, and and we've got tons of it. I think Sam played with 4? Did you play 4 bands that day?
4? Yeah.
A bunch, yeah.
He keeps busy.
Yeah, he does.
So now you're playing. Now you have recorded music. If we wanted to.
I do have recorded music on Spotify. I made a solo album. It's been like 2 years.
What was the title of that album?
Fire.
Fire. Now, if I had to call your music into a genre,
oh God,
is it possible?
That's so hard. I think it's been called, like, people tell me it's like sad bastard music.
Call it what? Sad bastard?
Sad bastard music. I've been told, but it's like kind of lo-fi and sad and sweet and I don't know. It's like it's emotional. It's very emotional.
Yes.
I get a lot out.
Yes.
in performing it. So
that's amazing.
It feels good to sing such sad stuff.
And so if I threw you on an island, I do this to all musicians.
Throw me on an island,
If I threw you on an island, you can only listen to one LP.
Oh my gosh.
One CD. What would that be?
You asked that question on my porch, and I thought. It's going to be a Tom Waits album because I'm a
He's
huge
so eclectic.
fan. I have traveled the world to see that guy, and he does not. He does not disappoint. I'm gonna say like Swordfish Trombone by Tom Waits. I think I could not get tired of that album.
All right.
Yeah.
I thank you so much. Would you play something for us?
Of course.
We're gonna have Jae Bass and Ghost Tropic. Wow, our own Yo-Yo Ma here. Wow, wow. Listen, everybody, thank you for coming to the show. We want to thank Giorgio Valentino. We want to thank Gayle Phillips. We want to thank stand-up comic Marcus Crespo, Jae Bass. We want to thank the Pablo and Angel, the crew of the Santa Maria. It's just been an amazing show, and these people are just amazing. Bring your friends. Let's celebrate us as a community. Let's keep learning who we are, and I'll see you next week.